And good afternoon. My name is Ryan Belmore. It is Monday, July 31st. Mr. Frank Prozich joins me. Frank, how are you?
I'm doing okay, Ryan. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Fresh off of the Newport Folk Festival. So I've got a little bit of
So are you
a
home or are
sunburn or a
you
tan.
where are you now?
I know I'm everywhere.
Good.
Uh, yes, I am in Alexandria, Virginia right now. I
Okay.
woke up this morning in Newport, Rhode Island. And here we are. And I'll be in Providence on Wednesday. And then Newport on Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Good deal.
Yeah. Oh, here, there, and everywhere. One place I wish I was back into, which I was at earlier this year, was Columbia, and we were just having a little bit of a
The
fun.
university?
No, and it's not Columbia, Maryland either. The country, and we were just having a little bit of a fun sports chat about the FIFA Women's World Cup and how great it was for. Well, depends who you are, I guess. If you're a Germany fan, probably not that great, but the Columbia with the big win yesterday morning. It was just fun to watch. But we were speaking about that with Senator Sandra Cano. And how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Ryan and Frank, for having me today. I'm really excited to get to talk to both of you. And by the way, I am one of those biased Colombians, being Colombian American myself. My family was like really excited to see the soccer team really bring it home with two to one against
Yes.
Germany. So that was very good.
Is
And you
this
would take a
normally?
victory like that in this congressional race, right?
I would love to take a victory like that for sure. Absolutely.
Hopefully not that close of a nail biter, though. But you are running for Rhode Island's Congressional District 1 race. Is this normally how you are on a Monday morning, or is the game and the Columbia win adding some excitement and energy to you today?
I would tell you that this is usually how I am. It gives me a lot of great energy and motivation every single day to talk to voters, to make sure I get my message out about why I'm excited to run for Congress, why I'm the candidate that they should support. And I would tell you that I came originally from Colombia. And 23 years ago, I was a teenager, and I came based on the violence on my country. My dad got kidnapped, and unfortunately, it forced us to be out of the country and came to the United States under political asylum. And this country have gave us absolutely everything, including a safe home and the opportunity of a lifetime. And that is the reason why I love to contribute back through public service.
Sandra, how old were you when you came to this country?
I was 16 and I didn't know how to speak English. I don't know if you hear my accent, but
No, it sounds to me like it was, a Cranston accent, but I wasn't sure.
okay, I'm glad. I'm glad that we are able to establish that. I'm a Rhode Islander now. No, but I came at the age of 16. I didn't know how to speak English, and I went through the public school system, and I was able not only to learn the language, but to really create a pathway of an American dream through education. So education is an equalizer, and if it wasn't for the great opportunity that I had, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Sandra, this is an aside, but I'm really curious as a young 16-year-old girl who is coming in here and seeking asylum, not knowing the language. What were your emotions at that point? How frightened were you of facing this incredibly new, I'll call it an opportunity? What are the things that went through your mind as a teenager?
So, Frank, that's a great question. I would imagine that at 16, changing your life dramatically and coming to a home where not only we didn't have a place to be, really, it was one bedroom for the four of us, and trying to navigate a system that we didn't know anything about, learn the language, and really trying to kind of like be in a place of reflection where like I lost all my liberties, right? I don't take right now our democracy for granted because I know what it is to lose those freedoms. And then I was depressed, sad, very scared of what it was coming. And a way for me to not think about that was basically a self-defense mechanism to get involved and to try to find a place of belonging and try to find a place where I could contribute back. My parents were very good with me and my brothers and saying, this is a country that provides us a safe home. You need to give back. And that's where my passion to serve and to like really work for the community started.
You were, let me see here off the top of my head, special election in 2018. There's a lot of you to keep up with, but 2018, Senator from Pawtucket. You represent the great people of Pawtucket. What are some of the things, highlights, things that you've accomplished over the last couple of years?
So Ryan, it was a special election and it was a very hard one. So I know how to not only run but win a special election. It was during the winter, and I would say with confidence that I'm the only candidate in this race that have won 4 elections in a year in different seasons of the year. So I started in winter and I won in April my general, and then I went back and did my own term September and November. But that aside, I would say that ever since I got into the General Assembly, I've been able to advocate for working families. And one of the things that I'm most proud about is that I always carry the voice of working families, and I have been able to champion legislation that really, really affect the community. For example, I was the main sponsor of the Child Care is Essential Act. If the pandemic didn't really taught us about how important it was for us to take care of our childcare system, then I don't know what. Education, I was able to pass the first financial literacy policy in the state where all the schools, regardless of the zip code, will have the opportunity to now teach financial literacy in a course, because I think that is important for our young people to understand how to balance a checkbook, or how are they able to understand credit. So I was able to pass that legislation. I was able to pass cover all kids access to health insurance for all kids, regardless of immigration status, but also zip code. I was able to champion the meals for all. So make sure that every student would have meals for all in our schools. The Senate passed it. Unfortunately, the House hasn't passed that yet, but I'm able to be a champion of that. I'm able to be the champion of legislation that really take care of janitors and security guards to make sure that they have good wages that are paid and they are respected with their job. They have some protections. I was able to also do some work with the cooperative small business and help the minority business enterprise, woman business enterprise, get some support when it comes not only to investment, but also to increase the percentage from 10% to 15% and separate the minority owned business to the woman owned business, so they have more opportunity to get some contracts from the government. I have been able to also do a lot of work when it comes to school construction. I was able to pass legislation. I'm the chair of the Senate Education Committee, a package of legislation that support our early educators. And now by 2028, we will have hopefully universal pre-K. So we've been including seats in the budget every year. So we have universal pre-K in the state of Rhode Island. So families have the access from 3 and 4 years old to have their kids sent to schools, and many more. I've been able to advocate for living wages and, gun violence prevention, the house crisis, immigration reform, the undocumented driver's license was also a critical work that we did together. So it's a lot of things that we've been able to do. So I'm very proud to have been working very hard with my colleagues to do legislation that matters to Rhode Islanders.
And I'm going to put your website on the bottom here, and I'll say it so that way the audio picks it up. But it's your name, 4ri.com. So Sandra Cano, 4ri.com. I just have one quick follow-up before I send it over to Frank. It sounds like you're successful. You're getting things done. You're busy. Why go for Congress? What made you, when did you make the decision, and why did you make the decision?
So in the year of 2010, I was able to take different leadership programs, starting from the Leadership for a Future program for the Institute for Labor Research and Study. I also took the Latina Leadership Institute. I took a program for New Leaders Council. And every time that I took a leadership program, such as this one, and when I was exposed to civic engagement and how government really works, right? I remember thinking then one day I want to be in Congress. So this is not an idea that I just woke up and have. I'm going to be running for Congress. I felt that it was important for me to work hard to get to where we are right now. I was able to get elected first to the school committee in 2012, the first Latina ever elected in the city of Pawtucket, work as a school committee member. Then I was able to get elected by my community to the city council. I did 2 terms in the city council. And then from there, my community asked me to run for Senate. And I've been in the Senate since 2018. And I think I mentioned already, since 2021, I'm the first chair of the Senate Education Committee that is also a Latina. I think representation matters. And my passion to help people through policy is really what motivates me. And my community asked me to run for this office. And I have a great support system in my family that really believe in making sure that I work for the country that provide me everything. So it's my passion. I love to help people through policy. And that is the reason why I'm running for Congress.
Sandra, could you tell us a little bit more about your background, education, professional, before, probably before and during your time in politics?
Absolutely. So I mentioned before, I'm a public education kid. I went to Chase High School, graduated from high school, and then went to Community College of Rhode Island. I got my associate's degree at the Community College of Rhode Island, and then I transferred to Rhode Island College. I'll tell you a funny story. While I was in Rhode Island College, I was doing business, and I had the opportunity to get a scholarship to go to Bryan University. Throughout all this time, I had to work and go to school. And I was able to achieve my bachelor's degree in business administration and economics from Bryan University. Very proud to have earned that degree. And later on, then I did URI. And I did my master's in public administration at URI. So if you see, I went to every public education and in Rhode Island. And as a chair of education, I always laugh because when they come in front of the committee, the presidents are like, yeah, I'm an alumni of CCRI. Oh, yeah, I'm an alumni of URI. Yeah, I went through RIC. And then so it's important to have that perspective. And after getting educated from my master's degree, I was always very grateful to have opportunities to get fellowships and scholarships. And I took one to go to Harvard University to do a couple of executive programs that were absolutely great at the Kennedy School. But without the support of people that really put like dollars into people like me to have the opportunity to take advantage of those, I wouldn't have been able to. But those have been great. And my way to transfer my leadership skills is to make sure I work for the people of Rhode Island. Professionally, I worked for the Providence After School Alliance after I got out of my like Bryan University career, like my bachelor's. I worked for after school programs. I was an operations coordinator there. I saw how after school programs really work to change the life of many kids, and I loved them. But then when I was there, I organized a cleanup in Central Falls for Earth Day in the year of 2011. And when I was looking for small business support, I went to Navigant Credit Union, and one of the managers had known me from previous, work. And she said, like, I was asking for you. I think that you should apply for this position. And it was Assistant Vice President of Community Development to make sure that the credit union have access to the underserved communities, teach them about the opportunity for a credit union to really get access to products and services. And I was able to change policy within the credit union. I worked for them for 11, 12 years. And I was able to change policy, create programs that were meaningful. For example, an alternative of payday lending, for example, like Navigant Credit Union allowed me to really uplift the minority communities, create access to capital programs. So I was in the financial industry for all of those years until last year, the mayor of Pawtucket tapped me and say, since you work with a lot of small business owners, You know how to get things done. I love you to be my director of commerce. And then so I took the challenge after so many years at the credit union, and I became the director of commerce for the city of Pawtucket until this year that I took a leap of absence to run for Congress.
That's quite the background.
Quite the resume, yeah. So when we put that resume out there, we're going to talk about the issues and what you stand for, and obviously we won't get to it all, but people can visit your website. Yeah, we'll get to it all, and but people can visit your website to read a whole lot more. But I'm wondering, when you look at all the candidates, we'll just stay on one side. I don't think we need to compare and contrast Republicans and Democrats. I think that's done enough out there. But why are you the one out of the 12? What makes you different? What makes you special? What makes you worthy of a congressional district vote here in a couple of weeks?
So Ryan and Frank, I think I mentioned my background, not only professionally, but also through public service. I'm the only one that have served at every level of government doing legislative work. And I hope that I could transfer that effective leadership to Congress. It's the same thing that I will be doing as a representative in Congress, creating policy that really works for people. So that is very, very exciting for me. But also, I am from the community and for the community. Like, these are not talking points for me. This is my life. I have lived the struggles of Congressional District 1 residents, and I understand firsthand what is to have the effects of inflation on my household, what is to have the effect of childcare as a mom myself, and also understanding that the community really have the opportunity to have a representation that really understands their struggles and have the passion to create change and have been doing change through policy. I think that is an opportunity also to diversify our delegation. It is an opportunity for us to send a woman to Congress, and a woman that gets things done, and a woman that has already a track record of making things happen here in Rhode Island. Other than that, I think that I have been very proud of making sure that when I talk about being effective in policy, I do it with the understanding that building coalitions and making sure that I get people together is something that I'm very good at. I would say that when I got into the city council, my colleagues didn't really know me in Pawtucket. I was new. I was young, the youngest one, and I would always say that I will debate issues but never the person, and building those relationships is what's made me very effective in policy, in passing policy that it's bipartisan, quite honest. And I think that that is the attitude that we need in Washington D.C. under the current climate that we do have in this country. So I think that that sets me very much apart. And from all of that, I would say that as the person that knows that education is an equalizer, I'm the only candidate that really have done the work for education in Rhode Island, and I have been very proud to get the endorsement of NEA. And, most importantly, I think that I have the support of a lot of school board members and communities that know that I done the work because I care for the work. And then so I think that all of that qualifies me to be the Congresswoman of Congressional District 1, and that people would allow me to have that opportunity to serve.
You mentioned endorsements, Frank. 1 second. Some endorsements that we should point out is State Senator Dawn Oyer from Newport Jamestown has come out and endorsed you. Former Newport Mayor Jamie Bova, who I saw all weekend long at Newport Folk Festival. She didn't want to talk about politics. She just wanted to listen to music. But I'm wondering what those endorsements mean from leaders, past leaders like that.
So yes, thank you for asking that, Ryan. I am very excited to say that I have like around 40 endorsements from Rhode Islanders that do the work every single day from Rhode Islanders. So elected officials from across the district, from Woonsocket to Newport, have endorsed our campaign because I'm able to work with them hand in hand. And yes, Senator Oyer has been an amazing friend. We both, it's so funny because we always mention that we both came in a special election, and we came in like 3 to 4 months apart from each other. And so we are our class. Everybody has a class, So Don and I is the class. Like, so what we do is like we support each other since the beginning. She has been my champion. She has been my supporter, and I'm very proud to work with her in some of the legislations that have been so impactful for Rhode Islanders. But it's the same to say that Chairman De Palma just came and endorsed our campaign. So she's the chairman of the Finance Committee, and as a member of the Finance Committee myself, I'm very proud to been able to work hand in hand with Chairman De Palma, not only in his committee, but he's part of my committee. So he knows the attitude, he knows the hard work that it takes, and we've been doing that together. Like Senator Maury from Woonsocket, for example, she understands the issues of the community best, and then so we have the same passion to get things done and work hard. And that is the same thing that I would say. The nurses and the teachers understand the importance of like having someone that is going to continue the strong advocacy that they have, you know, gotten at the state level into the federal level. And why is that important? Because they're Rhode Islanders. They born in Rhode Island. They have boots on the ground. They believe in our campaign, and it's really a movement. So I'm really excited of all of those endorsements that I got from Rhode Island and for Rhode Island.
I just want to make one correction, quick, Frank. I said former Mayor Jamie Bova came out and publicly endorsed, supported. I assume that's an assumption because she is working on your campaign. So I assume she's going to vote for you.
No, please don't assume. She is a very important part of my team, and we have a very great team that is, again, I think I was very conscious enough when I made the decision about my team that I wanted a team that was from our really great state. We have amazing talent, and I wanted people that really are connected with their own communities, and that is what my campaign is all about. Making sure that the people know like that they have someone that is a fighter and is an advocate from the beginning, because I care about this state so much and I owe everything to the state.
Sandra, if you get elected, what are your top 5 priorities?
That's a very good question. So there's no secret that right now we have devastating impacts of the climate crisis, and it's happening now, and it will only continue to be worsened, right? Here in the Ocean State, I think we have extensive coastline and bay-oriented tourism, and is an industry that is under threat. Quite honest. So one of the things that I really want to do is climate change and environmental justice, because not only climate change is reality, but I think that communities that are very underserved are also under a lot of threat. And so that's why I had been able to do the work with Chairwoman Dawn Oyer in the act on climate, right? For example, here at the local level, and I want to transfer those skills to the federal level. I want to make sure that we have economic justice in communities that really are affected by that environmental issues. Racial equity is important across our globe. There is a lot of consequences that a lot of members of the community don't know. And coming from a community that is very affected by climate trends, like the minority community, really needs a lot of support and really needs a lot of education and awareness about what's happening. And I am very excited to do that. So that is one, the climate change and environment. I also want to make sure that I am a fighter for reproductive justice and abortion access. I think that myself, I've been affected by this issue. I am also the only candidate in this campaign that has been able to tell their personal story. When I was pregnant with my first daughter in 2019, I faced genetic issues, and I didn't know about that until I was pregnant. And getting that phone call from my doctor saying, Sandra, your test came out like a little concerning, you have to go to genetic counseling and see what your options are, was petrifying. But also the decision and the opportunity to have that decision with my partner and with my doctor was extremely, extremely important to me. And in May of 2019, being pregnant with my daughter, I was able to tell my story and cast the vote, and getting a lot of criticism because I was pregnant by the own Catholic Church, for example. I was very judged. I grew up in a Catholic household from Colombia, and it was like really nasty letters coming to my house, and I stood in the right side of the issue for my daughter and every woman that was it's facing the rights are under attack. And I did that again this year. And this year I told the story that after that 2019 issue, in 2023, I was able to then tell the story that I was very fortunate to have gone through the process of IVF to have my second child, because I already knew about this genetic condition, and that it was only so important for me to advocate for women that were low income and that had Medicare, for them to also have access to reproductive justice. So that is the number one. The number second one. Number third, gun violence prevention. I have stood on the right side of the issue all of these years. I think I share with you, I know the effects firsthand that gun violence can do in a family's life. That's really my story. And to be honest with you, I flee the country of Colombia because of that. And coming to a country where I have to think of my two children having to go through, drills at the schools, it's really unconceivable. I really want to make sure I do everything possible to take my experience and the experience of many Americans that are suffering through gun violence and change that. So I am for the assault, the ban of assault weapons, and also the really good legislation that we've been doing here, and the progress that we've been doing here at the state of Rhode Island. I've been the co-sponsor of that, and I want to continue having that advocacy at the federal level. I think that the other issue, that's number four, access to healthcare. I think that it is extremely important that our healthcare system, have some changes, and we need to make sure that first we protect Medicare from being defunded. But also, after doing that protection, we need to make sure that we expand it, so no American have to suffer from not having access to a right that they should have. I've been an advocate of disadvantaged children and families in all aspects of life, including so making sure that here in Rhode Island we have Medicaid programs for children, because I do believe that it is important that we do that not only for children but also for pregnant women, and I will continue to do that. And that goes around with all of the issues, including also mental health. I've been very, very strong here at the state of Rhode Island to pass successful legislation to take care of our mental health issues. I done the Trauma Informed School Act. I also have done access to mental health in the schools through Medicare reimbursement. And I want to make sure that I continue doing that at the federal level, because it's very, very important. I was the one that passed the 899 line crisis funding here at the state of Rhode Island. That was my legislation as well. So I want to continue to do that at the federal level. And last but not least, I think I mentioned from the beginning, education and high quality education has always been my issue. I carry that with me since I was a member of the school committee, and I will continue to do that. I think that it is time for us to have universal pre-K in the nation. It's time for us to fix our childcare system and integrate it. It's time for us to take care of our early educators the way that we do help our teachers. And it's time for us to make sure that our families feel proud about the public education system that they have in Rhode Island. And I will continue to do that to bring investments from the federal government to our state.
Sandra, one of the things I've been surprised with every candidate that we've talked to, the one issue that has not been brought up, and certainly people have had firsthand experience with it, is immigration reform.
Well, I would tell you, Frank, that is definitely an issue that, if you see my platform in the website, is dear and near to my heart, and I will never turn the back of my community, because I am an immigrant. I know what it is to go through a process. So that is an issue that is also there. But when you ask me to put five top ones, I'm gonna have to go with the ones that I've been hearing in the doors every time that I go and knock on doors. So immigration. So I do believe that, just like I've done here at the state level, we are in a place where we need to do a pathway to citizenship and immigration reform that is, proactive instead of being reactive. What do I mean by that? When we were waiting to pass the driver's license for undocumented residents here in Rhode Island, it took years for us to do it. And my perspective and my experience, I am very proud to have done the work with my colleagues. And Sandra Cano was really amazing to work with me on this. Was that I made the proposition of making sure that we pass driver's license for undocumented with the people that are contributing to our economy. So I'll tell you an example. If you have the immigrant community here working, they know that the only way that they're able to ever get, like, legalization is if they pay taxes. So most of them have an IT number, an identification tax ID number. It is issued by IRS and it is free. And everyone that wants it would get it because the IRS made sure that, anyone that wants to pay taxes, they're going to take it, right? So if you are looking to get, a pathway to citizenship, the federal government already knows that they only will give it to the people that prove that they pay taxes. So just because of that, I cannot tie it into the driver's license, and only the people that are going to get the driver's license are the ones that are contributing to the Rhode Island economy. So I think that we need to do the same thing at the federal level. We need to start with the people that are already contributing to our country, paying taxes, and then just give them the opportunity to have an expedite process to make sure that they have, the pathway to citizenship. That would be my number one priority going to Congress when it comes to immigration reform, because we need to be proactive instead of being reactive.
Sandra, I want to follow up on that with a question that is often asked relative to these driver's licenses. And that many people see this as a pathway to these undocumented immigrants being able to vote. How do
That is
we
absolutely.
answer that?
Thank you for asking that, Frank. I think that is a misconception that is created by some people that they will be able to vote. But first of all, that is not true. If you are registering to vote, I did it myself when I got uh, naturalized, when I got to go through my own process. When you go to register to vote, they ask you to actually present your naturalization document. Otherwise, you're not able to be registered to vote. So that is a misconception. A driver's license alone is not going to let you do that. Let's say that you go to a boarding place with the license that is your license and my license are going to be the same because they're allowed to now have it. Like, that is automatically going to reject them because they're not able to be a registered voter. Okay. And second, the community itself is not going to do that for a couple of reasons. Because if they ever do that, that is illegal. Let's say someone, like, want to, like, try to do the system. If they do that, that is not only illegal, but they would that would jeopardize the process of citizenship in the future. And believe me, the people that are here waiting for that opportunity to get the pathway to citizenship for years, there's people that have been in limbo for 10 years where they are not documented, but they're also not undocumented. They're waiting for the process to happen. They will never take a risk for them to not be able to get that documentation in line when they have the opportunity.
Going back to your priorities, I just want to point out you're the first person to mention it, and mental health. And I think a lot of the issues you talked about, this is just me and my soapbox for 30 seconds. A lot of the issues you talked about, if we can, it's very, very difficult to do, but if we can help people with their mental health, I think a lot of those other things could come in line. And it was interesting to hear it as one of your priorities, because we haven't heard that yet, and now we might hear it from every other candidate as we interview them. But it was interesting, so thank you for mentioning.
No, 100%. I think that we need to make sure that we are very conscious to understand the needs of the community. And that is why I do when I knock on doors. I want to make sure that I will be able to advocate for the residents and what is important to them. After the pandemic, one of the worries that I have is that a lot of our community members are suffering from mental health that was before the pandemic, but now it's more, like, relevant because people were, like, in their own little space for a long time without being able to socialize, without being able to have access, without being able to talk to people. So those resources are extremely, extremely important. And I will continue to advocate at the federal level to make sure that we take care not only of our children, families, but also, quite honest, I do have some working family members that have been, going through so much. Like, essential workers went through so much, have seen a lot of devastation, and we need to take care of our people as well.
I think it's top of mind because I was interviewing musicians at Newport Folk Festival all weekend. I think I did 12 or 13, and almost every single one of them brought up the mental health, going through COVID, being alone, all of that. And I think it opened up my eyes of how much bigger sometimes it is.
Right.
Frank, you have a
Yeah,
final question?
I do. I actually have a couple of Pawtucket related questions.
Yes, please.
I want to know whether or not the soccer stadium deal is dead. And I also, this proposal to, by this billionaire to bring in the New York Yankees to McCoy Stadium. Well, maybe it wasn't the Yankees, but to bring in another team to McCoy Stadium, given that McCoy Stadium is supposed to be the location of the new high school. And then the third piece of that is we see communities throughout the state that are facing some real budgetary problems relative to school construction. I haven't heard, and maybe I haven't seen what the story is with Pawtucket. I think the bond was around $350 million, and whether or not there are concerns within the city that it's just not going to be enough.
Thank you, Frank, for the question. First of all, I would say that I'm speaking in my capacity as senator right now, no commerce director, because I'm been on a leave. So I want to make sure that I do that clarification. So I don't have any internal details, like those are for the mayor. But what I can see and say is that my constituents first are very hopeful that the soccer stadium happens. The community of Pawtucket has been, since I've been elected, very eager to have some development in our downtown. You don't understand, every time that I knock on doors, every election, like people say to me, I remember when it was a vibrant downtown in Pawtucket. We want to make sure that our kids have the opportunity to see that happen in our lifetime. So the majority of residents at Pawtucket really want that development to happen. I do know that the city was working very diligently with the state and the owners of the soccer stadium to make sure that that continues. I think that I have no doubt in my mind that that is going to happen. The question is, when is it going to happen, right? There is effects of if the inflation, and I think that what we heard latest that it was that there was a gap in the capital stack or in the whole financial package that wasn't really happening because the interest rates were really high, and the private investment for loans weren't really able to kind of get that percentage, to close the deal in terms of the progress. So they stop the progress, but if you see that side, if you are from Pawtucket, you see the hope of what is going to happen. And that should happen with everything, with housing, with retail, the soccer stadium itself. So the community is very hopeful for that. I hope that answers your question. I think it's going to happen. I just don't know when. I think that they're working those details, with the administration. So that is that. The McCoy Stadium. So I am concerned with the idea that a billionaire is going to come and just change the plans of the city for two reasons. I think that the voters of Pawtucket decided on voting for McCoy Stadium to be a unified high school. So I think that the only way that that would ever change if the voters of Pawtucket decide that that's not what they want anymore. We cannot just take away from democracy, right? That is what we are about. Our voters decide what we're going to do. So for me, there's two things. I would encourage the mayor and the administration every time and any time to clearly welcome the investment opportunities from that billionaire, but it doesn't necessarily need to be a McCoy Stadium. It could be another site in Pawtucket. We need the love, and I think that the mayor could do that. And then so that is my answer when it comes to McCoy Stadium. And then last question that you asked me was about the investments of the schools. There is no secret in anywhere in Rhode Island that inflation and supply demand is been really difficult for schools to close what it was supposed to be a projected budget with what is the budget now. There is no doubt in my mind that that is a real issue. I think at the state level, we've been able to look at legislation to see how we can increase or close that gap for districts, because I think it's so important for our students across the district to have 21st century buildings where they could learn and thrive in an amazing facility. And I think it's the right thing that we need to do, not only for our students, but also for our working class. They're the ones building these buildings. And then so it would just be good for our economy here in Rhode Island. So I would always welcome and will be a voice of making sure that that happens.
Should we bring back Apex or Paw Sox first?
You could. I think that it was so sad as a senator. The first year that I was elected, I fought everything with my heart to make sure that we keep the pozos in Pawtucket. And we passed legislation, and quite honestly, it was too late. And that was heartbreaking for the community. The pozos were an icon of Pawtucket. And that's why they're hopeful to have something back. And so, while there is a lot of controversy around the state in this issue, I'll tell you that as a Pawtucket resident, as an elected person in Pawtucket that understands and talks to voters every day, the perception in Pawtucket is so different from the state, from the outside, right? Because we need that love, we need that development, we need that opportunity. We want this community to thrive. And then so I am always for everything that we could do to make sure that Pawtucket has some love. And that's as a senator, right? So.
Yes, there you go. Is there anything that you that we didn't get to? Obviously, there's a lot we didn't get to, but anything that coming here today to talk about your candidacy for Congressional District 1 that you wanted to bring up that we just didn't get to?
So Ryan and Frank, there's one thing that you didn't bring up, and is the best role of my life is to be a mom. And then so I have two children, and I'm very proud to be the mom of two amazing kids, like Ariana Halel and Alessandro. And one of the reasons why I always want to do everything to make a positive impact in our state and in our country is because I think about the future of my kids and many other kids that deserve to have a democracy that is healthy, to deserve to have a planet that is going to be there for them, that is clean, right? To deserve the best high quality education possible so they could, like, thrive and be competitive with other people around the world, right? Education is just amazing. To make sure that my daughter doesn't have less rights than I do, to make sure that she is empowered to have an opportunity to be in a country when she's not only proud and just amazing to be an American, but also to understand that those rights are protected and that her mom is doing everything possible for her to just have those rights protected. To make sure that a small business and community really understand that there is someone that had been there, done that. I was a business owner myself. To let seniors know that, I care for my parents and I know how critical it is for them to have some resources and protections in Social Security and Medicare. And without that support, my parents wouldn't be able to thrive. So I understand the struggles of community, and I know that I'm from the community and for the community. And it's only going to take one of us to make a difference for all of us. And we have an opportunity of our lifetime to diversify this amazing delegation. And I think it's time for a woman to represent us because we have a unique perspective, but also a woman that has, the background that I do have, not only professionally, but through public service. So I hope that everyone in Congressional District 1 give me the opportunity to talk to them. Like I always leave my phone number in the website. It's my personal cell phone. I want to make sure people reach out to me, talk to me, debate me on issues, and ask me questions because I could only be a better candidate with that feedback. So thank you, guys.
Excellent. I think that is a good place to wrap up. Frank,
it is indeed. Sandra, thank you much.
I really appreciate you for doing this, and thank you for informing the community.
You are welcome, and very best of luck to your Colombian women's soccer team.
Yeah, yes. I know. We have an opportunity there too, so I take it.
And to you in this race, of course, but it's fun to it's fun watching people get excited also about where they're from. It's a unique way to learn and find out more about people. So
absolutely. I could always say that I could bond with you guys with food, and I'll invite you both to come to this part of the district, and we have some Colombian food. So Frank and Ryan, you up to the challenge? Come up, and
all right, we'll come up for the empanadas.
We'll do that.
I love everything good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we appreciate Sandra for joining us today, and her website one more time for those watching and listening. It's Sandra Cano 4ri.com. There we go, Frank.
Well, it's she's certainly got a lot of energy.
Has a lot of energy, and is fun to talk to. And we are keeping these conversations going. We've talked to somewhere around 4 already, I believe.
Yeah, I think we have a couple tomorrow, right?
Yeah, we have a couple more coming up. So stay tuned to the full schedule. All available on whatsupnuke.com. We're booking them with the candidates as they come to us, and around everybody's availability. So a couple more candidates to go. We have invited all of the candidates. So if you have not,
I think tomorrow we have Walter Burbrick at 1:30.
There you go. The schedule live on air, and that tomorrow would be Tuesday. And then on yes, tomorrow is Tuesday. And then on Wednesday,
All day long.
11:45 a.m. I don't know if you've seen this one yet. It was just booked. We'll have Don Carlson.
Yep, I saw that
on Wednesday. So, and then on Thursday we will have Stephen Casey.
Yeah. And so all of these right up on the website. People want to go back and take a look at them and maybe
watch, listen on the go, whatever you want to do.
And therefore, you can make a contrast. You know, it's many of the issues are similar, but listen to how they present them. Listen to their backgrounds and make a most of all vote.
Yes,
vote.
And we're trying to help you make an informed vote. We know I had somebody over the weekend say, 30 minutes. It's a little long. A 2-minute or 90-second answer at a forum or 90 seconds scrolling their website isn't going to give you these are intended to inform you, and hopefully you get to know the candidate a little bit more, where you can see the passion and find out why they're doing what they're doing. So
you're not going to be able to make a decision on a soundbite. You are going to get some information on an extended conversation.
Yes, and as she said, if you want more information about candidate, call them. It sounds like most of them have their phone number right on their website. Call them and ask them a question if we didn't get to it. So, all right, Frank. Go Red Sox.
Go Orioles.
On behalf of Frank Prosnitz, as well as myself, we want to thank Senator Sandra Cano for joining us today. Of course, she was here to talk about her Congressional District 1 race for Congress, why she's running. If you missed any portion of this, want to watch it again, want to listen to it, want to share it, want to compare, contrast, all available on whatsupnuke.com. Thanks for watching.